Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Creator Kaleidoscope podcast. I'm your host, Nathalie Agnes, and on this podcast, I ask fellow creators to share their unique perspectives in this multifaceted reality. Today, I'm here with Reese Molby. On LinkedIn, he describes himself as an energy and health systems coach. He helps burned out professionals and, writes a lot about energy, about creating a life of freedom. He also has his podcast. And Reese, I wanted to, well, first of all, thanks for making time for me and hopping on this podcast with me. We've been talking about this for quite a while now, so it's good to finally get around to it. But I'd love to hear from you, from your perspective. How would you describe yourself?
Great. First, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Nice that we finally got it done. I think we've been talking about it for like 4 or 5 months. So
Yeah.
yeah, super happy to be on here. The LinkedIn bio is fairly accurate. I have a second bio, or like, I guess I say my main bio that I use on Substack and Instagram and Twitter of like, I don't even remember exactly what it is, but it's like lifestyle design and holistic health for peak human performance. And it's like, that just sums it up so well. And I like the LinkedIn because it helps kind of cater to the audience over there, which that is also true, but it's like, yeah, lifestyle design. How can we build a lifestyle around accomplishing the mission that is important to you? Like, what do you want to do in this life? Let's build a lifestyle around that. And then let's get all the holistic health systems in place. So that way you don't have like anything holding you back. And then eventually we can go deeper in my work and some of my writings and in my coaching to go inward and go into breaking some more limiting beliefs and the things that are more subtly energetically holding you back. So that way you are like full force. Let's go. What is the mission that I want to accomplish? And that's where the peak human experience comes in. So it's a very holistic system. There's a lot of different aspects of things that I can help people with. And it's all pretty much just based on things that I've wanted to do. Like first, when I was like 16 or 17, I looked up, I was like, I want to be like an entrepreneur. I want to have online business. So I looked up like how to make money online and eventually stumbled across Dan Coe and his work and was like, oh yeah, of course I can write about what I love and get paid. I'm going to do that. That sounds amazing. um, so then I just started writing online, just kind of about whatever I wanted, general self-improvement stuff. That's kind of just what I was experiencing at the time. But eventually I got more interested in like productivity and like how I could be the best possible writer that I could be. And then creativity also came into that. So with the productivity side of things, I started learning more focus tactics. Was learning that if you're getting better sleep, if you're eating better food, then you're going to have better focus. And you're also going to be more open to having creative insights and even divine insights. So the productivity and focus side led me more down the holistic health path. And the creativity side eventually led me more toward a spiritual path of just being in with the collective consciousness, getting these creative downloads and divine moments and following my intuition. While the holistic health was teaching me all of these like more practical systems and breaking like the modern normal health beliefs, of which holistic health actually has true and is much better. And a lot of modern health is not telling the full truth and setting people up for just kind of a life of like laziness or just like, not really well-being or energetic being. And that didn't resonate with me. So I kept following these two paths deeper. And then eventually they kind of collided again of like, okay, well, these two paths feel like two very different things, but really it's just about like living the best possible life that you can with no blocks. So that way you can do what it is you want to do. And maybe that's a really huge mission, like helping. I think of like Coherence, Nick and Jack Sweeney. Like their mission is to get 1 billion people breathing at once. That's a huge mission. Or it could just be a simple mission like I want to be old and be able to enjoy my kids and my grandkids and run around and play with them. A super simple mission, but just as important. So whatever that mission is, all of these things can help a person achieve. And I've just found so much fulfillment in first doing this for myself, but then sharing and helping people just enjoy their life at a more deeper, enriched, and more present way.
That's beautiful. And there's so much to unpack here. But I guess let's start at the start. You said that you knew that you wanted to become an entrepreneur when you were like 16, 17 years old.
Mm.
And at the same time, you mentioned a lot about lifestyle design. And I guess this question is coming out of my own perspective, my own curiosity. Would you say that your lifestyle design started first, or that you knew that you wanted to become an entrepreneur and then kind of start building your life around that?
That is interesting. I think it was like the entrepreneurship and like the online business. And this thought randomly popped in my head a couple of days ago. In like elementary school, we had this like little program like two times a year or something. So I did that for a couple of years in elementary school where some like somebody from like a local business or some like local group. I don't even know what it was. It was a program called Junior Achievement, and they would come in and you'd have a Junior Achievement Day. And for 1 or 2 days out of the school year, you would just learn about business and entrepreneurship and making money. And just the really simple stuff that you don't really learn in school, but it's just kind of like shows children this path of like, hey, you can be a business owner. And I remember in elementary school, whenever those days came up, I was like nervous. I was like, I don't like this stuff. I can't be an entrepreneur. This is too much work. That's a lot of responsibility. Like I
Mm.
have to be like amazing to be able to do that. And I just think that was really funny that like I was nervous about that when I was young. And then as I got to be a teenager and like 16, 17, I was like, oh, this is certainly what I want to do. So, yeah, I think just to answer your question simply, the want for entrepreneurship came first. And then I was like, okay, let's figure this out. How can I set myself up to do this? But I just had that interesting little anecdote that came to mind.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
asked this question because I've been reflecting on how I've built my own business over the years. And for me, it was definitely, I didn't really think that I would have to change my life. I went into it quite impulsively, just thought, well, people online make it seem really easy. So I still had a lot of my bad old habits, like picking up my phone first thing in the morning, doom scrolling a lot, and not really resting or letting my mind breathe for a second. And then
Mhm.
obviously, like, that is not sustainable. You can do that for a little bit, but I guess doom scrolling was a coping mechanism for me. Um that helped me regulate my nervous system in a way,
Mm.
because that is the way I'd been doing it for years. But
Yeah.
as the responsibilities started rising and you don't tackle those maladaptive coping mechanisms, I guess, you start to realize, okay, something's going to change. And that's then forced me to really look at my habits and how can I really, create life around my business or really get into that lifestyle design that didn't occur to me until a couple of years into the business. And yeah, I gave this context because from what I've heard you say and from the work that I've seen of you online, that is one of the things that you help people with, right?
Hmm.
Navigate their way through that landscape, because there's a lot that goes into lifestyle design.
Yeah, certainly. And I think it's such a foundation because, like, you could certainly be a business owner and wake up and doom scroll for 2 hours and then get into your work. But, like, how's your work going to be once you finally get into
Mm.
work? Or if you even get into work, maybe you're doom scrolling for 5 or 6 hours because you started for just 5 minutes. But yeah, once you get into that work, maybe it's not as focused then, or you're more distracted, or you don't care about it as much. It doesn't feel as fulfilling or fun, or maybe then you were just because your mind is in another place with the doom scrolling or just not having a general lifestyle set up. Maybe your sleep schedule's a little messed up or just got a lot going on. Like maybe you're stuck in this box of thinking that's not going to expand your thinking and expand your business or expand your vision for what your business could do. Like maybe you're actually holding yourself back. So yeah, like you can definitely sustain a business without a proper lifestyle design, but maybe it's not going to be as good as it could be, or maybe it will end up not actually being sustainable. And yeah, that lifestyle definitely goes, I think, is like the most important foundation that anybody can build, especially business owners, especially creators. Um, managers, leaders, like really anybody. But because from that place, you then open yourself up to do so much more. Like it opens that kind of, it gets you out of that box of thinking, like I just mentioned, but also then you're more energetic. So you're able to spot more opportunities and have more social connections and build your network. You're also more focused. So you can get more work done in less time. So then you can do more work total, or you can do the same amount of work in less time and then enjoy life for the time that you've saved. You can also then just take your health a step further, which I would recommend to anybody, but I'm a health person saying that. So I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But I do think that the general foundation is extremely important. But then also from there, you also have the power to build and grow on your own without always needing somebody or needing advice or needing a coach or needing to outsource it. Like you naturally will just have this time and this presence with life that you will find curiosities and you will dive so deep into them. And that just expands, it opens up a whole new part of your world. Like I think back to myself, like toward that beginning when I was just into like a little bit of lifestyle design, a little bit of productivity. Then all of a sudden, these different little like avenues opened up that I could go down. Like astrology was introduced to me and I was interested in that. So I dove down the rabbit hole and now that's a whole new world that I have. Same with like marketing. I had a friend who was super into marketing and I was curious about that. So I went into that and I opened up my world around it because I had this lifestyle design that wasn't chaotic and that wasn't taking up all of my focus and all of my energy. And then I had the power to find these new interests first. And then second, I could actually do them and experiment with them and follow that curiosity that has just grown my world in so many different little ways.
So I can definitely see that the holistic approach keeps coming back in like multiple ways, like
Mm.
being able to explore your interests as things come up, like astrology and then marketing. And I think that's the beauty in entrepreneurship, right? There's always more to learn. There's always another level. It's like this endless game that some people refer it to. I believe Dan Code, which you also mentioned, refers to life as, or entrepreneurship as the endless game, right? What would you say your hyperfixation is at this moment,
Oh,
or your topic that you're deep diving in right now, and why?
interesting. I don't have one at the top of my mind, but I know that there's been something.
I'm very curious now.
Okay, I guess this is kind of like last week a little bit. Well, I guess I got two things actually. I wrote like I was just scrolling on Twitter or whatever. I don't even know what social media it was, but I wrote this reply and I don't even remember what the tweet was, but it was just what I wrote that like unlocked this idea for me. And I was like, it's not about taking everything that somebody says like as full truth, but just taking it, experimenting with it, seeing if that works for you. If it doesn't, you can just let go of it with no attachment because you weren't doing it anyways in the first place. And if you love it, then that's something that you can incorporate into your lifestyle as more than just an experiment. And then from there, you can make little iterations. Which I think that alone is such like a fundamental part of lifestyle design and health and spirituality and really in life. But I've taken that idea and kept that idea of like experimenting with me. And it's just kept coming up in my head lately of like just seeing everything as little experiments. Like, okay, what happens if I try this for a week? For example, I tried like Noah Ryan's like fruit sugar till noon diet. And I'm like, okay, what happens if I try this? And I tried it and I felt really, really good. And now I was like, okay, well, is this placebo or not? Like, I know I'm like drastically changing the timing of my diet, but is this placebo? Like, what happens if I just stop for a week and eat whatever I want and go out to eat 3 or 4 times and eat just gross food? And then I felt like crap. And I was like, okay, well, I could have predicted that, but I experimented. I'm not going to beat myself up because I ate horribly and didn't work out for a week. It's like, okay, that was just an experiment. Now I know that I can go back and shift into some kind of diet that's going to make me feel better. Or I can further experiment with that to make it fit into my unique life more. And I think that this level of experimentation first comes once you have kind of like a general baseline set, a general sleep schedule, a general work schedule. Like you kind of know where you're going to be. You have some fundamentals because once you have those fundamentals, your body, especially if you're not like old yet, is extremely resilient. Like it doesn't really matter if you do something that's really bad for your health for a week or two, because if you stick to that fundamental and go back to what you know is working, your body's gonna completely heal itself from that. Now, obviously, not medical advice. Like I don't know the limits with this. I may experiment with the limits, but generally, your body will just be able to heal itself. So, like these little micro experiments are certainly okay. Like I used to. Another example, I used to have like my caffeine window that I call it, which is like 120 minutes after waking up and 10 hours before bed. So I found that generally I could drink coffee from 8 a.m. to noon, but I usually cut it off at 11 just to be sure. So like 8 to 11, and I'd have two coffees maximum. And then I experimented. I'm like, okay, what if I just have like 5 cups of coffee and drink it until 12 or 1? Let's see how I feel. And I tried it and I was like, I actually feel pretty good. I think this is okay. And I kept doing it for a week. And by the end of it, like my head was hurting until I got coffee and I couldn't fall asleep. And I'm like, okay, so there, I just proved to myself that, yeah, okay, maybe some people can have 5 cups of coffee a day and they're not going to have a headache and they're going to be able to sleep just fine and get deep sleep, but I can't. And that's for me. Now, I'm not going to go tell everybody, do not have 5 cups of coffee and this much caffeine. I'm going to say, here, this is what I do based on my experiment. And now, the second part of this, when I first said, I was like, okay, I have kind of two things that came up here. So the idea of experimenting has been with me. And the last experiment, I guess I was kind of running was this last week is like a lot of vocal tuning and humming and feeling my voice when I'm speaking. And now I'll see if I stumble my words now because I'll be thinking about how I'm speaking. uh, but I would go on a walk and I would just hum like the entire time of all different pitches, all different sounds with my voice, like ah, oh, like just kind of different, some different vowel sounds. And then like the R's and the M's, those are a good sound to hum, I think. But I would just go for these walks and I would go as low as I can, like oh, and then as high as I can, like oh. And I can go higher. I just don't want to embarrass myself on here because it doesn't sound very good. But it's okay. I'm on a walk and I'm just experimenting. So I'm doing that and I'm feeling where in my body am I feeling this resonate? Do I feel this vibrating in my throat or in my head or in my heart? And I'm like, okay, well, I want to speak from my heart more often. So where in my vowels, what pitch feels like it's coming from my heart? So I would go and hum on these walks, and then I would come back home and I would just feel like I am so true to myself. Like that's the time that I would want to like get in the DMs or pitch somebody and see if they want to work with me in coaching or just talk to my friends in the DMs or record an Instagram video because I'm like I feel so like present in my heart right now because I just practiced and tuned my body to speak from the heart. So that's been a lot of fun for me lately.
With that. I love that you're doing these little experiments and really encouraging people to just try it out for themselves. Because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, like having this open mind when you read stuff online, and I mean, we can get into this, but there's so much information online nowadays and
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of contradicting stuff as well. And when you really take the time to try these things out, like you just did with the coffee window or the fruit diet or the
Hmm.
humming, which I also have a couple more questions about. But
Yeah, please.
yeah, you need to be really, or be, I guess this ties into mindfulness, right? You can,
Yes.
if you can read something and you might not necessarily agree with it or understand it, when you're in a reactive state, it's so easy to just have all this judgment and form opinions around it. But you can only really form your judgment and opinion once you've given it a try. And then, especially, I love what you said about the humming. I've heard a lot of benefits of humming for the nervous system and like singing,
Hmm.
and haven't personally tried it yet to connect with uh your heart, let's say, because, okay, in this line of work that you do, we kind of go into this a little bit in the podcast that we did on your channel. But when you were talking
Mhm.
about this, I felt it really strongly in my heart. Um, and in this line of work, right, we essentially you're being of service. You're helping people, and that really comes from, or it's most aligned when it comes from the heart space. So I'd love to hear, and maybe you can tie this into the collective unconscious that you talked about in the intro. How do you see those things? Like the being of service through your business and really
Mm.
connecting and with your heart space when you're reaching out to people or just even making content. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the quick version of this answer is like, I want to be well, obviously, like, I am trying to be of service to people with posting free content to help people, offering them deeper personal one-on-one coaching. Like, I do just want to serve people, and I know that I will best serve somebody if I'm from my heart, if it is coming from my heart. If it's coming from my head, then that's not really me trusting myself, and that'll be me trying to speak from not personal experience. It'll be me speaking from things I've heard or things that I've just researched to help somebody to make sure that I can help them
Mm,
rather than knowingness. And whether that's me knowing from intuition or me knowing from experience, I think that's either way, that's still just as valuable because that will come from the heart rather than coming from a different place of the body or just coming from like straight from the head or from the brain or something of like, okay, how can I best help somebody? Like, because I don't think that's gonna be the most effective because that's not I guess, goes back to experimentation again. That's not what's going to be the most effective because that's not what I have experimented to be the most effective. I found it that I work the best when I'm trying to come from the heart. And when I maybe not trying, but when I just let myself come from the heart and when I connect with that. And I think that, like, really, when you are connected to the heart, you are connected to God, to the divine within you and this just my personal beliefs, again, from what I've experienced, is that there's divine within everybody. Some people are just more or less connected to it. And I think that the heart is the direct, deepest connection that we have to God because your heart is kind of like the center of love and of connection. And really, when you think about it, when you think about God, God is just connection. Like, especially if you think of like the non duality and God is in everything, that means that everything is connected. So your heart is the center, is the physical center for, like, you can say like all this like spiritual or 5D or like heaven or whatever. Your heart is the physical representation of that. So the more you can connect to your heart, the more you can then connect to anybody, any person. People love it's like human psychology that people love stories, and that's because stories are coming from the heart and they're coming from lived experience. And that's why, like, recently I've started reading the Bible more and getting a lot more into like the Christian sense of God and Jesus and stuff. My fiance and I just started reading the New Testament, and I've just felt so much love and so much excitement to get to read the Bible or get to look into some biblical story that I heard about. And I just love that. And I think, again, like the love just comes right from the heart. And if you don't, if somebody's not excited to, let's say, like read the Bible or whatever it may be, then that's okay. Like if you are connected to the heart, you'll be guided to the right place. And maybe you will
mm,
do that someday, or maybe that's just not meant for you, but you don't have to resist that or feel like you should. I think for probably the last year or 2, I was like, "Oh, I should read the Bible. I kinda want to." Like, I hear people talking about it, "This sounds interesting, I should," but I never actually picked it up and read it, and now looking back, I'm like, "Hey, that's not a bad thing, that just wasn't for me in the moment," and now that I am, I listened to my heart when it was for me, and I am loving it, and I feel so excited and fulfilled and just love. Like, that's the one word to describe it, is I feel so loved, and I've connected to my heart to do that, but then that's also gonna tap you in more to the collective consciousness, like you mentioned when you asked the question, and that is where your intuition and where your creativity comes from, or which I think is also tapped into God. Like, you think, like, what is your intuition? Nobody knows. Like, it's a gut feeling, but it comes from the heart, but it's seemingly random, but when you follow it, things work out perfectly. Like that sounds like something that God is doing. It sounds like guidance from that higher being. And then in that collective consciousness of like the all being, of like the non duality of like we're all connected here, that means that being able to tap into that means being able to tap deeper into love. So I think it really just comes back to tapping into love. And then to connect it with the humming, I've just found that humming directly does that because I can feel it vibrating and like literally physically moving in my heart. So that's just one way that you can connect to the heart. But you can obviously connect to it in probably an infinite amount of ways that we've just not discovered yet, like journaling or like deep in meditation or a conversation with a person. But yeah, that's kind of my views on all of that.
Thanks for sharing. I feel like we share very similar, aligned vision here. And it's no wonder, like, that's how
Yeah.
we got in touch, right? Um, you mentioned in the beginning a little bit about your spiritual path, like the entrepreneurship and then the spirituality. And I just want to get a bit of an overview on the timeline here, I believe, because you said,
hmm
all right, when I was like 17, 18, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But then at the same time, when you had these days in school where they told you about entrepreneurship, you had all these thoughts of like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can handle the responsibility. So what changed in the meantime? And I guess, yeah, what made you go from this is not for me to now doing this full time? And I'd say a relatively short amount of time because you
Yeah.
are
I'm 20.
young.
Yeah.
See, crazy.
I think that well, first those entrepreneurship days in school were in elementary school, so that was like from ages like 7 to 10 or 11 or something. So that was quite young. And I don't in that time it was just kind of a gap. Like I'd worked a couple of jobs for somebody doing work that I didn't really want to do. And that made me realize it's like, okay, well, I don't want to do work I don't want to do. But then even when I worked jobs that I kind of liked, like I've worked a serving job over the last 2 summers, like waiting on tables. And I was like, yeah, I actually like this, but I don't like that I have to be here for until like 10:30 or 11 at night. I don't like that I have to like touch all these cleaning chemicals and clean. I don't like cleaning, which is like nothing wrong with that. But I just found it's like, okay, well, even if I like the job, there's still going to be things that I don't like about it. And that's also like, I know that I can have a little humility there. It's like I don't have to like everything about it. That's definitely okay. I can still do this and be present and find appreciation for those things. But just generally, I was like, okay, if I don't want to do work that I don't want to do, I'm going to have to do it for myself. So that way nobody can tell me what to and what to not do because I've not liked that. So I think that that was a big moment, and I even still always have that in the back of my mind. It's like, this is not what I want to be doing, so I'm not gonna do it anymore. Or, like, if I don't want to be doing something, how can I find a way to not do it? And I found that, especially as being a creator entrepreneur, you can pretty much just stop doing whatever it is that you don't want to do and find some other way to make it work. It's just, again, like, goes back to experimenting, like so many things in life do. I think the general gap was kind of that spiritual bridge a little bit, knowing that I am enough, that I am worthy of it, that I am capable of it, that I actually can do it, and not just having that like self doubt that was blocking me. And that's why I also think spirituality is such an important part of like the work. I kind of have my movement or my mission called energetic freedom. And it's like holistic health, lifestyle design, and spirituality are kind of like the three pillars of that. So that's why I think that spirituality is such an important pillar because if you have like some self doubt there or some limiting beliefs or something that's telling you that you are not enough, even if you're not like consciously aware of that, that's still holding you back in the same exact way that I was like, oh, I can't be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any bad feelings about not being an entrepreneur. I just thought that's just the way it is. Like, oh, I just can't do
Mm.
that. I'm just not going to do that. That's okay. But really, like diving into it now, thinking about this for the first time ever, by the way, it's like I subtly had those beliefs of not being worthy or not being good enough to be an entrepreneur. So then as I got into just a general self-improvement at like 16, 17 years old. I started realizing like, oh, I can be better than I am. Life isn't just how it is. Like I have a say in this. I can do the little things that I want that make me feel better. And then like I mentioned earlier, that led me down the holistic health and the spirituality path that just reinforced like how amazing of a person I was. And yeah,
I
I think
love
I got
that.
it.
Yeah, I love that because in the beginning, if I remember correctly, you also, so you mentioned that you help your clients with, general lifestyle design and health, but then you also mentioned that on a deeper level, you help them exactly what it is that you mentioned now, those limiting beliefs, maybe some unconscious patterns that they're running. What
Hmm.
would you say are, and I'm sure the ones you just mentioned, not feeling worthy, not feeling deserving or capable enough, those are very common. But what are some other interesting limiting beliefs that you've come across in yourself, maybe, or in people that you've worked with or talked to over the past few months?
I think that I think that all limiting beliefs you can kind of stem down to a few core ones. Like there's a few core limiting beliefs that they all kind of branch off of.
Mm.
I don't know what those are. I definitely think that I am not enough is a super big one. Um, but one that I've commonly found is like I don't have time or like time is a struggle
Ooh.
or something about time. And this comes up for me a lot. Do you have something to say there?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get into this because I wake up a lot of the most mornings. Uh, And I guess this is the nervous system still regulating itself after years of having been in chronic survival mode. But this is
Mm,
like one of the overwhelming thoughts I have in the morning as soon as I wake up is I think of all the things I want to do or I get to do for my business or the things I want to create. But even throughout the day, I tend to really easily slip into this trap that you just say, like, I don't have enough
mm,
time. There's not enough time in the day. And I'm very aware of it. So yeah, that's why I got really excited
yeah.
when you started talking about time and time in general.
Yeah. Well, it's scary because it's uh, I don't know about the one thing, but it's one of the most important things that we have no control over. Like it's just the seconds will just keep ticking. Like you can't
Mm.
stop that. Like you can like people like Brian Johnson, they hope to reverse aging, but time is still going on. Or like you can reverse or try to have control over a lot of things, but time is just the one thing that you can't. So it's like we grip onto our time. And I do this so much too. Like if I wake up later than I want, and I've really enjoyed just going for sunrise walks in the morning. And if I didn't get that, like yesterday, I didn't get that, and I slept until like 8 o'clock. So I didn't really sleep in by any means. Like eight is still fairly early, but I was like, oh, I wasted time. It was like I could have had an hour and a half this morning to just enjoy. And it's like I don't even typically work during the early mornings. I just enjoy it. I just go for a walk and I'm just around the house. Maybe I'll read a little bit or journal a little tiny bit, but like I just enjoy it. That's it. I don't like use it for anything like super important in particular. Although enjoying it is extremely important, but and I was still like beating myself up like, oh, I wasted an hour and a half of time. Like time. Or like, oh, I could have gotten this work done in so much less time. Or I don't have enough time in the day. Like I'm busy doing these things that I have to do. And maybe having all these things that you have to do is a limiting belief as well. Like, what
Mm.
do you have to do versus what do you think that you have to do, but it's just actually a habit. And it would be like kind of uncomfortable to break that habit. That's kind of interesting. That just came up for me too. I haven't thought about that before. But
Yeah, maybe that kind of ties into I see this in a lot of people that I work with because I think we're essentially doing similar work. I
yeah,
focus more on the core blocks, but I would say this is actually really good reflecting on with someone else.
awesome. That's the best
Um,
conversations.
right. I would say it boils down to tying your self-worth to productivity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what came up for me, and yeah, it's definitely you mentioned the synchronicities earlier when you're doing things from the heart and the intuition. Like, it doesn't make logical sense a lot
Yeah.
of the times, but then when you do it and you experience these synchronicities, to someone else, it might be like, okay, well, that's just a coincidence. But to yourself,
Mm,
you just know, like, okay, this is aligned. And this again is something I still struggle with a lot of the times, is choosing, okay, to follow my intuition, even though it makes no logical sense, rather than doing what seems more logical from a general or
Mm,
outside perspective, because that is what we're programmed to do really from a young age. And then especially when you go on this entrepreneurial journey, this creator journey, it's almost like a whole new set of rules apply.
yeah, definitely. Because I am not productive by any means. I'm not productive at all. I open
But
my
I'm gonna have to
computer and
ask you now, what does productive mean to you?
yeah, that's great. I think looking back, like I just want to do something that I just kind of want to do something every day that will have like grown me. Like if I didn't try to connect with a few more people or try to help a few more people in the DMs or make a few new friends or send out a quality newsletter or a post or a YouTube video or something. I just like putting one thing out there every day or just getting one step closer to like the long-term vision of just being able to help as many people as possible. So like if I do that, I'm pretty satisfied. And it's not like, yeah, like I could probably have results so much quicker and a lot more coaching clients and a probably like a paid newsletter, a paid podcast or something if I was like productive and sat down for 6 or 8 hours a day. But then like doing all this, like, yeah, to help people, but then like what about for myself? Like I wouldn't be enjoying life, even though I enjoy the work. I wouldn't enjoy any hobbies, or I probably wouldn't be as calm as I am now. I would probably disconnect from the heart a little bit. And then all of those people that I would have built up to help like improve their lives, I wouldn't be coming from the heart. So I'd be doing them a little bit of a disservice, actually. So it's been much slower this way. And I've not coached that many people, but I'm getting one step closer every day to the big vision. And like you said, I'm only 20. So it's like if I'm still doing one thing that's gonna be, like, helping the long-term game, like, in the long run, that will work itself out. I trust that. And that's not to
Mm,
say that, like, I don't care or I don't try or I don't get into, like, the more tactical, like, businessy side of things, because I do, because it interests me, and at times when it doesn't interest me, I don't really think about the businessy side of it for weeks or a month or whatever. But, yeah, I just love being able to put one thing out there, and some days I'm writing and I'll be in the flow and I will write for 4 or 5 hours on my computer and I will be obsessed with it. Other days that looks like, okay, let's just record an Instagram video quick because like maybe I'm really not feeling it that day or something. I'm like, "Okay, I can record an Instagram video quick and that's gonna help people. That's gonna get pushed in the algorithm. 100 or 200 people could see it, or thousands of people could see it, and it takes a minute or two. I already have all the knowledge. I don't have to like write a script or find a topic or an idea. It's like I know what I
mm,
can do for people. So that's kind of like the low hanging fruit or something simple. But then I do listen to my heart, and when those flows of writing come, or when I get inspired to record more podcast episodes, I'll reach out to like 5 to 10 people, like, hey, do you want to get on a podcast? Let's get on a podcast. And when I'm not feeling that, I won't reach out to anybody. And that's okay because I just trust myself enough to maybe that's another limiting belief for some people too, is just trusting themselves.
mm.
But I
Yeah.
trust myself enough that, okay, sometime in the next week or two, I will really want to record some podcasts and reach out to people. Or sometime in the week or two, in the next week or two, I will trust that I will really, really, really want to write and just be obsessed with writing or whatever it may be. So I don't plan it all out. And that's why I say I'm not productive. Like some days it's just not really doing much of anything.
Mm.
But then
No, great point.
it also just goes back to, like, being able to connect with the heart. Like, that's just for work-wise. I'm always going for walks and doing breath work and connecting with myself and slowing down too. So it's not like I'm doing just nothing because I just truthfully enjoy connecting with my heart and with myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I just wanted to say again, it's admirable. You're 20 years old and essentially showing people like this is a way to live.
Mm,
And I had a question come to mind, is like I'm 10 years older than you, and I
mm,
didn't embark on this journey like until later. I wouldn't say like old. I started my
yeah.
business 5 years ago and then became fully self-employed 4 years ago. I actually had this realization yesterday because I've been um becoming more consistent with my podcast episodes and really opening the heart, letting more people in on a daily basis because I was really bad for isolating.
Mm,
Um and I've been repurposing clips from my podcast on TikTok, and it's been a couple of days now of posting 3 videos each day. And I
amazing.
was just looking at my own profile and I was like, wow, I am becoming the person that I was looking up to 4 years ago, 5 years ago, let's say, when I first had my spiritual awakening. And I saw all these girls talk on TikTok about spirituality and business and entrepreneurship. And that was the first time where I was like, wow, like that is something I would actually really like to do. And I guess my point with this question is, so I guess technically I'm still considered a millennial. I'm from 1995. I'm not sure what your generation would be called, but would you say this is like a trend in your generation, where people are like, yeah, this job, even if it's good, it's not 100% I want to do. I want to prioritize my quality of life and my wellness over, let's say, doing what is considered the normal path.
Yeah, I think I just looked it up just because I was curious, and I always forget. I'm Gen Z. I'm Gen Z, but like loosely like can be in that like millennial phase. So I'm like sort of like on the cuff, but technically Gen Z, which I don't I don't really know. But when you said that about like seeing people on TikTok and now you're posting on TikTok and even like now, I'm speaking for both of us here, it feels like, oh, there's so much more. Like we can be doing all of this stuff. But then you think about like what we wanted a few years ago, and yeah, we're doing that right now. Like we're just recording a podcast just because we can, because we wanted to. Like that's
Yeah.
so huge that like we've already won. We are already exactly where we thought we wanted to be. Now that we're here, we just have like a new goal or a broader view of what we actually can do. And that doesn't mean that we have failed or that we aren't good enough. It means like, hey,
Mm,
we uncovered this whole new level of things that we can do. Like we're winning.
yeah.
We're already there. I definitely I'm sorry, was the question was about like more people doing this at a young
Yeah,
age?
I'm wondering like, and I guess this always depends on like your social circles as well and your in direct environment. But I've noticed a lot of younger people that I meet are like that, where they don't want to just get a job, work a 9 to 5, 40
Yeah.
hours a week, if not more, and really be like, you know what, I want to live now. And even if it takes me a couple of years to figure out what that would look like,
Yeah.
that is okay. And I guess it isn't taking that time and allowing yourself this freedom and the space and the time to explore yourself that you learn to trust yourself.
I feel like it's become maybe I don't know if it's necessarily like the normal like 40-hour work week or normal job, but I think it's more generally just people want to do what they love and find a way to make money doing that. Like finding a way to just enjoy their life is so important to the younger people. And I think even if they find a 9 to 5 or a 40-hour a week job that they do love, like they would take that and that is what they want. But I also think that yes, entrepreneurship, creating, sharing your personal interests and helping people with that is, in my opinion, the best way that you can do what you love because I think there's a space in it for almost anybody, maybe everybody. I'm not sure. That's something to think about. But I think it's become more acceptable,
Mm,
more and more accessible too. Like when more people talk about like, hey, I don't want to work a job that I hate. I want to do what I love. I want to find my own way. That's become more acceptable because now there's more people who are doing it. So it's just kind of like a loop. Like people see more people doing it and people are like, "Oh, I could do that too." They used to just be a normal person just like me. I can do that. I can do what they're doing. Whereas in the past generations, there were very few people like that. And if you were like that, people would just say like you came from a rich family or you got really lucky, which may have been partially true because now it's so accessible. Like I was just on YouTube one day as a 16-year-old and now I'm here. That's
Mm.
it. That was the starting point. Is I was I was watching YouTube, just like I watched YouTube probably 5 or 6 hours a day as a teenager, and I just clicked on the right video one time, and it's like kind of all stemmed from here. And it's amazing to think of that. But the more content we're putting out there, you seeing spiritual girls on TikTok that got you excited, and me seeing, gosh, what was it? I think it was like
Was
a
it a
little bit of like,
Danko video? Because you mentioned that
um,
Danko kind of inspired you.
not at first. It was, I don't remember how I stumbled on Danco exactly, but it was like just some like general self-improvement, like ages 18 to 23 are the most important time for a guy's life, or so, like just something like that. And I was like, interesting, I'll be 18 in a couple of years. What is this all about? And then I think like from there, my algorithm just shifted, and it was one of Danco's like how to work 4 hours a week or something like that. So that was my shift into like entrepreneurship. Yeah, like just clicking on the right videos. It's so accessible. And then not only like just seeing it on social media or hearing somebody talk about it, but it's also accessible in the way of like you can just, anybody listening to this right now, if you have never posted on social media before, you could post an Instagram reel or a tweet right now, and every like social media post is a little bit of a lottery ticket. Like that could go viral, that could get you 10,000 followers, then you post one more tweet, or then you post an Instagram story saying like, hey, I have a community that helps people with this, or I have a book that helps people with this, and then boom, that's your online business right there. So now I know I really, really, really simplified it, but that's as simple as it is. And it's just taking shots at that. And it goes back to the experimenting we talked about earlier. The more you experiment, the better you're going to be at taking those shots. And the bigger network you'll have over time. Just all goes back to the experimenting. And then like really online business is quite simple. And now like saying that there's so much more to it that you can get into, and I'd recommend it because it's fun and because you will likely have a lot more success if you do. But there's nothing stopping anybody from just starting to post tweets. It takes 1 second to write a tweet. I think some of like the business guys are like, or like social media guys are like, okay, schedule your tweets a week out ahead of time and think of ideas all week and read books. And it's like, no, it's really, really, really simple. It takes 2 seconds to write a tweet. You just write it and post it. You don't need to quit your job to do that. And you can just be tweeting for fun, just sharing what you're experiencing or what you're reading about or conversations that you've had. And then suddenly you've grown a following. And then suddenly you can learn a little bit more about marketing, a little bit more about sales and copywriting and positioning to send people to some kind of offer while working whatever job or while being in college or anything. Like barrier to entry is so low. It's almost nothing.
Mm. I like how, apart from the entrepreneurial things you mentioned here, what stood out to me the most is that you said because it brings me joy and because you enjoy it. And I
Hmm.
guess that brings me on to the next topic.
Yes.
We were chatting about this before the podcast, actually, and I was like, you know what? Let's save that for the podcast. But
Yeah. I'm glad we came back to
um,
this.
yeah, you mentioned posting on Twitter or Instagram, but you also have a podcast.
Yes.
And yeah, you talk a lot about connecting with the heart and connecting with other people. What are some things you've learned since you started your own podcast? And that can be insights from people or guests you've had on the podcast, but also just about the learning curve of starting a
Mm.
podcast. Because I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know how much work gets into podcasts, and I guess it's always going to take more time when you first start, right? As soon as
Of course.
you've done the first couple of episodes, you kind of know what to expect, and editing won't take as long. But
Hmm.
what are the most surprising or biggest things you've learned since starting your podcast?
Yeah. I love that. I think the biggest thing is just how great people are. Like
Mm.
there's very little opportunities, I think, to just have an in-depth, valuable conversation with somebody that um I don't know, maybe it just doesn't die out, or like some people, not everyone, like there's not many people like you or I in my real life community. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. And if there is, they kind of keep that hidden a little bit in real life because it's a lot different. But online it's super easy to share it. I don't know why. Maybe because there's more people who do it. But also like, or if you just send somebody like a DM or something, maybe they don't reply or you don't get that same level of depth. But I
Mm.
think a podcast is such an easy way to get a person on a call that maybe you don't know that well. And it's like, hey, now we can get on a call, we can connect, and I can see how amazing this person is. And if I looked up to them, like I've looked up to you, I've looked up to a couple of my other podcast guests, and then you get on a call with them, and you're like, wow, they're just a normal person. It's just like me. Like they are phenomenal at what they do. And like thinking about it, I'm sure there's people that looked up to me and now hopefully listening to this, they realize like, hey, I'm just a guy. Like I just do things. It's really
Mm.
not like you don't have to put people so high up on this pedestal because then you're kind of putting yourself down a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm not as good as them. But like
Yeah.
really, like I just have some information that somebody else hasn't heard and I can share that with them. And then also, like you have some information that I've never heard about. So it's wonderful to hear those ideas. And
Yeah.
everybody has those things or some experience or story.
Yeah. Going back to non-duality, in that way, everyone is your teacher.
Mhm.
Doesn't even have to be like a paid coach or anything. Like if you
Not at all.
really want and you really open yourself up to this, right? You can learn something from every single person you meet.
Yeah. That's what I think that's the most amazing thing I've found. And then what goes hand in hand with that is learning how to ask questions to go a little bit deeper or to hear what you want to hear without knowing what you want to hear. And that kind of goes
Mm.
into like listening to your intuition a little bit. Like there's been a couple times where you've just paused and let something come to you. And that's a beautiful thing. I would much rather that than like you read it off some paper that you had planned because I don't know if the conversation would have gotten to here or if we would have gotten out those little tidbits that somebody probably needed to hear, but it may not have came out if you had like a scripted questions or you had AI say like, hey, research this person and list 5 questions
Oh
I
my
could
God.
ask them. Or like just something super silly. And that's how I've ran my podcast too. Like I've written down maybe like 1 or 2 questions that I had because I'm like, "Oh, this would be really cool to hear from this person." But
Mm.
other than that, letting it just flow. And occasionally, if I have a question that I want to ask when somebody is like in like the middle of talking, I'll write it down so I don't forget it, but I don't attach. I'm not like, "Okay, I have to ask this person this question." If it doesn't come
Mm.
up or if it doesn't flow well, I typically just don't ask it. But it's also yeah, just trusting myself in conversations. I think a big thing for people is like their social skills or their questioning or conversational skills. Like people don't. I remember I used to be like this a lot. Another limiting belief coming up here of like, oh, I'm not good enough to talk to this person or to
Mm.
have input in this conversation. Like if there was a group of like 3 or 4 of us, I was usually the silent one because I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough to put my share of information or my experience into this conversation. So that has pretty much dissolved now being a creator, connecting with different people, and especially with the podcast because like I said, like I've talked to people that I look up to, but I'm in the conversation. Like I it's just them and I. So it's like if I don't believe in myself, there's no podcast to be had because
No, exactly.
it just really, really opens you up to, I think, guiding conversations, like the social skills, like I was talking about, guiding conversations and asking questions so that way you can connect deeper.
Mm. Yeah, I love what you said about how podcasts are really an opportunity to have these deep conversations with people that you
Yeah.
normally wouldn't have. Like this, is not the type of conversation you usually have. I mean, I guess it
Yeah.
again depends on social circles and who you decide to spend your time
Certainly.
with. But I wouldn't say this is like considered the norm by any means. And yeah, I mean, in the beginning here, I did have to take a second to okay, what question do I ask now? And this is something that I just found is that when I wrote down a whole list of questions in another episode, I ended up not even asking half those questions because they just didn't really flow with what the person was saying. There were so many more interesting things that they said that I couldn't have anticipated, but
Yeah.
that was way more worth asking questions about than what I had written down.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that in itself, being able to, I guess, course correct on the spot is also a really important skill to have. and it's
Yeah,
something you develop,
definitely.
like a lot of these communication skills. Yeah, I didn't have communication skills. I was super socially awkward
Yeah.
when I was younger, and it's through, mainly doing podcasts, but also running this business that that's improved. And I guess that is a limiting belief that I had when I was younger, way younger, like
Mm,
when I was a teenager. I just thought, well, I guess I'm just socially awkward, and I really
yep.
identified with that. I didn't realize that it's something you can learn,
Mm,
and that, yeah, that it really is a skill.
yeah. Like every for a couple thoughts here. Hopefully I don't forget them. If I do, it's okay. I think that first, just the conversational aspect of it makes it so much more enjoyable for the listener. I don't listen to many podcasts, but if it sounds like an interview, I just click off. Like, I don't know, not out of like stubbornness, but I'm like, I just don't enjoy it this way. I've
Mm,
loved the ones where it's one conversation for an hour and a half or whatever it is, or even the longer ones where it really does just flow so naturally. And that's what I've felt in a lot of my episodes and in this one. It just feels so much better, I think, as a listener, and that way you can get more from it. I also think that we get so many ideas when you get two minds together, and it just kind of creates this third space of ideas that you are connecting with each other. And that does not happen in an interview. It's just like, okay, well, what's the question? What's my answer to this question that I've probably said before? Like, I've probably written a
mm,
post about um whatever question you may have asked me if it was like scripted. But because you heard my response, you were present and you were listening, and then you could sit with yourself and see what comes up. I've talked about some things that I've never thought about before. A lot of the limiting belief stuff that I had and that like entrepreneurship days in school, that didn't come up until you just asked the right question that prompted the thing in me. And I think that that's so beautiful and that's such a great way to have a conversation and post it as a podcast. I love that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Hmm,
I think I remember the third thought I had, unless you were onto something.
go ahead.
At the end there, you mentioned like the limiting beliefs, and I mentioned that like how funny is it that two people that thought that they were like socially awkward or didn't belong in conversations are recording a podcast with nobody else like guiding them. Like now we're doing that. We both host our own, and it's kind of like all limiting beliefs aren't just something like aren't just an identity. Like every limiting belief just means that there was an area that you can free yourself.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. That's all. I just kinda had that hit me.
That was beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. We've come to the end of this podcast, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, do you have any final thoughts that you really want to share, that you want to get out there? Any burning desires that you want to share with the world?
Mm. Gosh, I don't know. I think that one of that last thoughts that I had there was like all limiting beliefs are an area where you can free yourself. I'm still thinking about that. I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
that. So like, just like, remember that, I would tell people. It's like whenever you feel some limitation or have something come up, like, realize that that's an area to free yourself and not an area where you are actually restricted. Like, it's kind of a signal that now you have something that you can dig deeper into and that you can work on or try to free yourself in and just see, like, how free of a human can I be? What can I do?
Mm.
And I think that's a big takeaway. And I think a lot of the things that we talked about may have been a level or two deeper for a lot of people, like just the general, like the average person. And I think that that starts with just getting like the fundamentals in place, getting some more sunlight, getting the sleep routine, just the basics of lifestyle design, the simplest stuff. And then maybe this more conceptual stuff or inner work stuff, like may feel like a reach or may feel like it's kind of too far out there for some people. But if you want to really dive into this stuff, you will find so much more success with just getting those fundamentals in place. So I think that's the other message I have. And
Mm.
I have the resources for you to do that. You could also look it up. There's a lot of great creators out there. But if you want, you can just DM me or my website, reesemolby.com. You'll find everything that you want on there. Or my Substack, which is also just Reese Molby or Energetic Freedom. You can search that up. But that's the tools for kind of getting the fundamentals. And then it kind of just becomes easy kind of like a game that I've found of like, okay, limiting belief, how can I free myself? Where is this? Why do I have this? Where is it in my body? What can I do to free myself past this? And it
Mm.
just kind of feels like a game. It feels exciting. I don't feel stuck or I don't feel like I'm not good enough because I have limiting beliefs. It just all feels exciting. So yeah, I think that's
I feel
my
that's
last thought.
kind of comes to a full circle point here because we talked about life
Yeah.
being a game in the beginning as
Yeah.
well. So I'd say that's a beautiful note to end on. And I just wanted to add in here as well.
Yeah.
Um, we ended up talking about things like limiting beliefs. And I just wanted to encourage people to, yeah, reach out to you because you can do a lot of inner work on your own, but
Hmm.
in conversation with people, um, unconscious stuff has a way bigger chance of coming up. And
Yes.
those things are holding you back just as much as your limiting beliefs that you are aware of. So I'm going to link Reese's socials down below or wherever, yeah, you're listening or watching to this, you will find all the links. Reese, I wanted to thank you so much for making the time for this
Yeah.
beautiful conversation. And yeah,
I
thanks
love it.
for listening. See you in
Yeah.
the next one.
Thank you.